So in continuation of that networking, security, setting up fabric infrastructure, the next thing we want to do, in that first video, what I did was to set up organization, AWS organization, and set up, invite, or let me say, create new AWS account, invited them to the organization, create OU, then went ahead to go and create a VPC. From there, I created some subnets, some routing tables, went ahead to go and create transit gateway, create association, create attachment, create association, propagations, and stuff like that. So it's coming home now that we have a transit gateway and we have it connected to the right organization. Now, the next thing I want to do here is to see how I can share that transit gateway across multiple AWS. Okay, two ways. I can share it with individual OUs. I can share with individual AWS account that belongs to the organization. And I can also share with the whole organization so that every other account that I've shared with that organization doesn't need to, manually share with resources, but they can just inherit that. Now, what is the tool for me to do this? This sharing of resources across account OUs and some other resources is what is called AWS Resource Access Manager. So Resource Access Manager is what I will use, or what we use. Now, before you do that, you want to go to your AWS Organization Manager account. Here, I have my own. Here, you can see that is Resource Manager here. So when you go to this, when you type Resource Manager, Resource Access Manager, then you come to this place. Then you can say, okay, what do you want to do? You go to Settings and you say Enable. So you go here. I have enabled this to make sure it's enabled here before you can use it somewhere else. And after that one is done, then you move back to your to that network AWS. That other account I've been using this morning. That is network account for me. So you can do the same thing, Resource Manager here, Resource Access Manager, leave. So you can see here you have your Resource Access Manager, and here you can do your shares. So I'm going to do some shares and we'll move forward from there. So now what I need to do is to go to Resource Manager on my network account, and this is where I am. I can go to create share. So here I can give it a name. And then I have to state what am I sharing with. So I'm sharing with Transit Gateway. So I will have to say that and choose that. So when that is done, then I move next. So here I move next again. So now I will say I want to allow sharing only within the organization. So here I will now say, okay, AWS account, and I will put the AWS account here, or I can do the organization. So I have to still put the organizational ID. IMO, I have to make sure I know those information. So I'm emphasizing it so that it doesn't just pop up. It doesn't just pop up. You have to provide it. So now, this is my development AWS account ID, and I will add the production, and I will say add, and when I say add, I will say next. So after say next, we'll be able to say, so we can see. We have to check. We can say, okay, there is no other information I need to add here, and I can just say go ahead and share, create share. So now I've created that share. And that is that. So if we go to the source share, so you can see the share now. So it become active. Yes, that is what I want to show, that these have to be active. And we can now move to, now that we create share, we can now move to do some other VPC and attachment. So we can see that we have two in the share resources. I have the two accounts associated right now created. So I have one for production, AWS account. I have one for development, AWS. So these are the two accounts I have been able to add to the resource in a bid to make sure that these two accounts can share resources via the transit gateway, across the AWS organization. So to continue the demonstration of having this network set up and the other auxiliary environment, now I have been working within the management console of AWS organization and the network AWS account that I created. In the beginning of this project, I created network account in AWS, I created prod account, and I created a development account. Now I've been using the network account to create the VPC, to create the association, to create the transit gateway and everything, making sure that it can communicate with AWS organization. Now I have to switch my account to the production account, AWS account. So if you look right up the right corner here, you will see production, and you see the account number. So what I want to do here is to create a VPC, and you see how everything kind of connect together end to end at the end of the day. But I believe by now you see how the sequence is going. So here I want to create a new VPC and more, and I want to call it prod. And here we do, my IP address should be 10.0.1.0016. That will be good for me. And tenancy should be default. Now, one thing I want to do here is, availability zone should be 2. The number of public subnet is 0. I don't want any public subnet in this particular VPN. For the private subnet, I want 2. Yes, I want 2 private subnet. And and for NAT gateway, I don't want any NAT gateway. I just want it to be known. VPC endpoint none, and click to create. So, but if you look at the private network here, there's something I want you to note. You have to, if you want to customize your CIDR block, you have to do it here. So for me, I want to customize that. I want to put this here, yeah, and put this here. So yeah, so these are the two cyber block I want to put. So make sure you don't forget to do that, because it could also generate generate one for you. So NAT gateway is none, and the VPC endpoint is also none. So I'm not using S3. So then I can go ahead and say create VPC. So yeah, so that is that for VPC in production AWS account that we created earlier before now. The next thing I want to do now is to create another subnet, another transit gateway in this particular account. So if I go to just go back to move down there, I can see transit gateway, and here I can say create transit gateway, and I can call it maybe I can call it let me say prod TW transit gateway, and I can just give it a prod gateway, and the ASN. I'll come back to that. I can't remember let me get so I have you can see now. So these details of the transit gateway I want to create in a production environment and production account. It's called prod TGW. This is the ASN number 64512. Kind of popular if you want to use a BGP or VPN for some other things, when you are connecting across some account and some services. And I don't want to do anything like route table by default right now, or auto generated. I want to do that, manually myself. And then I can say create gateway here. So when gateways are created, so the next thing is I will go back to our gateway, traffic gateway, and you can see what we call a subnet. I can create subnet under the gateway. So sorry, I can create a subnet for the gateway. So like I did in the other account, I have to create a dedicated subnet for the transit gateway in this particular AWS account. And here, if I go to VPC and I go create subnet, this is the subnet I just created, prod VPC. The VPC I just created, prod VPC, and I can say I can have two subnet here. One is prod TA. I can say prod TA GW A, and here I can put my CIDR block. CIDR will be 10.1. So let me look at availability zone. Looking at having AZ. Okay, let me do AZ one availability zone. So I'm in Ohio. Okay. Let me see if I can get back to one. So let's do this again. Oh, my VPC was created on. Okay, let me do this. So I have my Ohio, and I have VPC here. And I was trying to make sure that in the other account I created it in East 1. I wanted to make sure it's East 1 here, but okay, we can do Ohio here. And so TG, I can do prod -TGW here, and I can say should be Ohio just 1 to A, and I can IP do this. So then I will add another subnet, and this one I will call it prod -TGW-B. The reliability zone I will make use of the 2A. I think this one was 2A. Okay, let me use 2B. Okay, so I can pick up my CIDR block. Okay, and here, now that I have I can go ahead and create the subnet. So this is the format that I follow. Create the transit gateway, create the VPC. Create the transit gateway, then create the dedicated subnet. And from there, you can now move into attachment and stuff. So the next thing I want to do is go for attachment. So now that we have a VPC created, subnet created in the second AWS account, which is production account, now I want to make sure that the VPC in this particular production AWS account can communicate with other VPC across the I in the network AWS account. So what I need to do is to create another transit gateway attachment here. So I give it a name like a VPC prod to TGW just give it a name that is make you understand that, okay, this is what is happening here. And if you click the drop down arrow, you will see the gateway I created, in the net security portfolio account, the other account. So it's there. I will select it, and I will say the type of attachment is VPC, and the other thing is I would say is VPC and subnet. So let me look at the VPC. Okay, it's prod VPC. And if you look at the subnet here, I always say you should check the subnet. So these are the subnet that we created for the VPC specifically. So you can see that one is there. Or for this one too. So this particular two subnets are created specifically for the transit dedicated subnet for the transit, not for the VPC. So when that one is done, then we can say the name prod attach. But I've given it, that is what I'm doing here with the prod attach to, let me put attach here, prod attach, or I can just say prod attach anyway. So prod attach to this, so just to be readable. And when that one is done, then I can just click on create. So with that, what I've done is to create an attachment that allow infrastructure and workload within that VPC core prod to be able to communicate across the account to the other account, yes, and be able to communicate within the AWS organization that I created earlier. So when I make use of in the other account, in production account, when I set up a VPC communication with transit gateway that has been shared with that account, then the next thing I have to do, I have to come back to the sharing account, the account that shared that transit gateway. When I come back here, I will go to my transit gateway attachments here. And when I click on that, if you look at it, this is the share I made on the other account. You can see that the acceptance is still pending here. You can see it's pending here. So I have to accept it. I have to accept it before it can become useful in that regard. So that is one thing that you have to be very sure, and you have to remember that. So you can see that here that okay, accept transit gateway. So I will say okay, accept. So now the work of setting up a transit gateway, making it to communicate with other account resources and stuff like that is kind of completed here. And it's really, so I will do some tests to show that okay, the communication is good. So now the next thing we need to do is add a route to the private route tables in production account. So how do we do that? Is that I have two route here, two private route that's configured for this, but I will do them one after the other. So for this, I will click on I will open this up and I will say edit route to add route. So you add route, the destination is 00, and they should target your transit. So you should target your, so that is that you target your transit gateway. And you should do the same thing for the second one as well. Like the second one, I have done the two here. So the second one, if you look at edit, look at it here, I already have it there, but you can do edit and you can add your route like I did. So this is the way to add a route. So what we are doing here is to make sure that there is appropriate navigation pattern that is assigned to this route table for it to be able to communicate with the transit gateway itself. So the next thing I want to look at is VPC flow log. So the other thing is to before I create a VPC flow log, I need to create a CloudWatch log group. So for my VPC, which is prod, I ask it to just retain for 30 days and choose a standard one. There is no fluffy. I just go ahead and create the CloudWatch log group. So it's basically going to keep eye on our flow log. So to create a flow log now, you come to your AWS page, and for me it's prod. So I come down here and I click on flow log and I say create flow log, and I can call these what name can I give? Say for the VP flow logs. I will want it to accept everything, to filter all so that it can capture both accepted and rejected. Then I will take just 1 minute here for maximum aggregation interval. And what I want is to send it to CloudWatch, not S3 bucket Firehouse. So because I created the log group, the log group the last time. So now I want to say you should create an account automatically, except for, and it should take a AWS default format. So with these are the necessary things that needs to be done here. So with this, I can create a flow log on this particular VP. Now we know what flow log is. Flow log is like a network traffic. That shows that every signal and traffic that goes through your VP, is being logged and can be used to understand the patterns and maybe dictate some attacks that might want to infiltrate your network environment. So that is that. So now I want to create a security group for resolver endpoint. What does that do is that resolver endpoint allows bidirectional DNS resolution between AWS and on-premises network. So the inbound endpoint receives DNS queries from outside AWS. The outbound endpoint forward queries to external DNS server from AWS. So I need to create a security group for that. Then so the name of the security group that I will create is resolver endpoint security group, and I will ask it to, and this is the name of the VPC that I want to do that with. And yes, when it comes to protocols, I will add here this description. Okay. So I will add rules. So when I say add rules, inbound rules and outbound rules. So let me do inbound, and I will add UDP port 53, sec UDP. So that will be port 53, and then we have this IP address description option. So another port I can add here is custom, that is port 53 as well. So the security group is I'm using the inbound rule, I'm using DNS TCP, I'm using DNS UDP. Hence is for resolver here, and these are the source of the IP address. But for the outbound, I'm using all traffic, and that. So I will create these security DNS, create that. So that is a security group that will allow that communication between for DNS name resolution within this environment. So after creating the resolver, the resolver's security group endpoint, the next thing to create is the resolver endpoint itself. So how do you do that? You go to the resolver inbound endpoint, and I name it inbound endpoint here. You can see I'm using the default DNS query process. Then one thing you have to notice is that you have to be able to see your VPC correctly and choose your VPC as the one you want to use. And then the security group that we created the last time, yeah, that was selected. Then we come down here. You have to add these IP addresses that you have in your subnet. So your subnet will be listed. You choose it, and you have to make sure that this particular option is chosen. Use an IP version 4 address that is selected automatically, and the same thing should be applicable to it. So you want to go next and create that inbound traffic. So we can go to outbound now. Go to outbound, create outbound. Then I want to give it a name. You can choose your VPC, your endpoint is what you should choose. That's your security group. Then the endpoint, I want to use IP version 4. Leave this protocol. This is where you need to look at your addresses, and we'll do your A, which is US 1A. That was, if you leave that, you will see the subnet that I created in that particular location. Then you go to your address, you do 1B. Then you look at the subnet, you see the subnet I created here too. Then this is all. You make sure that you can automatically, that you allow the system to automatically generate IP version 4 for you, and then you can go ahead and say create. So if you go to resolver here, under VPC resolver here, you will see that we have both inbound and outbound VPC resolver.